Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
Let's do it. So, Josh, last episode we did a little bit of a start on a new, series within a series. That's what this is called now. It's a series within a series. Talking about kind of like our process of how we create things, where our mind goes when we start creating things. And so I kind of wanted to continue that this week. And I wanted to talk about PCs, like creating your own character, because we don't really talk much about creating your own character, even though that's a huge part of D&D. So when creating a character, and I know it's going to be a little bit harder because we don't have like a world to base it off of or anything like that, but when creating a character, where does your mind go? What things do you think about? Like, what's the first steps that you take when creating a character?
My first steps is figuring out, what do I want this character to deal with? Does that make sense?
Are we talking mentally, or are we talking like?
I think it could.
It could be that. Are we talking?
It could be story wise. It could be. I really liked how this one character was portrayed in yada yada, and I kind of want to explore somebody that was like that. Not the same person, but like just try to get into the head of somebody in whatever situation it is.
Do you like using? I know this whole podcast is about like using. Like we take something from Star Wars and then we make it into a D&D universe type thing. Do you like taking like characters and like loosely, basing your characters off of them, or do you like doing that?
I'm gonna say no, I don't. But what I like to do is be inspired by. So instead, I think I didn't understand this when I first started playing D&D, but I've kind of realized this is what I like instead. And I think that's where a lot of people start. The people that want to create, like, oh, I want to do Darth Vader, but
I want to play Aragon, yeah,
or something like that. Like, Aragon. I think all of those are, or at least the majority of them are, they want to explore that story but they don't need it to be the same story. Like, one of the things I wanted to, like, I really liked Cole from Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh, I remember this character.
Yeah, so he's this spirit, and what he kind of has this weird sort of link. Like he can kind of read people's minds, but it's more just like their emotions. And the whole point of him doing this is he wants to make it better for people. He wants to relieve them or help them in some way. And so I really like that idea. I didn't know how to do that in D&D or try to make that an interesting thing without it. I honestly don't think D&D has the capability of doing that unless it's like a...
Well, especially when you made the character, 4 years ago or whatever. Because
yes.
Now there's a lot more different classes that have abilities.
That's true.
Like that,
a lot
that can do stuff. But
yeah, but so like I loved that idea of someone who most people think is super weird because they're like a spirit, or they're kind of like they're seen as evil. And they don't really care about how other people see them or how the world interacts with them. They just want to help however they can. And they don't quite understand the culture and the kind of environment that they're in. And I loved that kind of fish out of water, wanting to help type of person.
Interesting. Because I remember story time. I remember when you created that character.
I literally just took the character. I literally that was literally
it was
same
like a
character.
Carbon copy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not good. Like it was not fun to play for that very reason of it was a carbon copy. It didn't feel like it was my own thing.
Yeah, and I remember he died like the first session that you played him in.
No, I think it was the third, because we spent a lot of sessions just talking in the camp.
Yeah, I remember my character didn't like him very much.
Yeah, your character was very secretive, so somebody who could read minds, I just used the detect thoughts spell.
What are you talking about? My character couldn't. My character wasn't secretive. I don't know what you're talking about.
He tried to pretend he wasn't secretive, but he was the secretivest of all.
He was not the secretest of all. He just told the truth no matter what, but nobody believed him.
But anyways, and I think that's where I start is... I want to explore some sort of a story. What story do I want to explore?
So what are some... I know there's a lot of different methods to creating a character, because I know like some people they'll pick their class, their race and class first, and then go from there. I know some people will like roll randomly in the book, for like different, just different characteristics and traits. Do you just come up with those yourself? Like, do you make a story and then come up with your class? Do you pick your class and race first, and then kind of build a story around that? How do you normally do
I
it?
think I've done it multiple ways, but I think one of the ways I enjoy most has been kind of thinking about I think min-maxing is unfun.
I think it depends on the group and the game you're playing in, but yeah, I tend to
Definitely, but
agree.
the games I want to play in and be a DM of are not ones with min-maxing.
I'm a little bit different in terms of, as a DM, I find min-maxing to be incredibly annoying, especially
Very much so.
when you have people who aren't min-maxing in your game, and then you have somebody who
one
is,
person who
'cause
does it.
It makes balancing combat really hard, because then, like, if they have a tank that's min-maxing, then, like, you just can never kill him, but you'll kill everybody else in one shot, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, where
Yes.
it's just, like, really difficult. But as a player, I love min-maxing because it's really fun to just, like, destroy everything, or heal everybody, or like, just be really strong.
Yeah. And so
But
I
at
always
the same
I haven't
time,
had any problems with it, luckily,
yeah.
because what I do is I literally just talk to the person and say, "Hey, like this is going to be unfun for everyone else. Could we work on this and like have it be fun for you without it being min-maxy?" And people are so far, everyone I've had to do that with, or like, yeah, I don't want it to be unfun for everyone else. So yeah, let's work on this.
Yeah, I if everybody is min-maxing in the game and I'm a DM, I enjoy it just because I can make combats like completely ridiculous, like just insane, because when you min-max characters in D&D, they become really, really busted. I mean, most characters are really good anyways.
Yeah.
Most classes are really good anyways, but when people are min-maxing classes and stuff, it becomes like really busted. So it's really fun just to make completely giant over-the-top combats that are just ridiculous.
But so what I was leading into here was saying that I do like finding things that synergize well together.
Right.
I think most of those synergies can be taken to an extreme where they become min-maxy, but I like to stop before I get there. But also, if I create a character or character idea, and like I'm currently playing a character that has one level of sorcerer, I don't need one level of sorcerer. I'm pretty much gaining nothing from it, but part of my story was that I had this sorceress explosion that happens when you like kind of the kind of forming event for a sorcerer, and it caused so much problems and trouble for my character. I have rejected sorcery. So even though I have a sorcerer as one level of it, it really is not the most efficient way of classing my character to be the strongest they can be. So I am totally okay with taking something that completely like makes them not the most effective, just for an interesting story.
No, and I totally love that as well. I do that a lot when I make characters, but when I make characters, I tend to like, I don't know, I'm a very story-driven individual. So like when I first started playing D&D, I really was like just trying to min-max a character and make a character as good as they possibly could be, just because I was new to it and like I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just kind of like, let's make some fun characters that just blow stuff up. But I started realizing like my version of D&D is more like RP heavy. It's more, like talking heavy, story driven heavy, and I like to explore those aspects of characters. So anymore now, I think my past like 6 characters have really been like, I think about what I want, like what story I want, kind of like, okay, who are they? Where were they born? Like how did they grow up? Just like the whole 9 yards of just like creating a story for someone. And then like, as I'm doing that, if a class usually ends up like, I don't know, like exposing itself through the story. You know what I'm saying? So like Seamus, for example, Seamus's story, I created the story before I even did anything. And he was a bard, which is funny because I was kind of not wanting to play a bard with Seamus. For those who don't know, Seamus is my character the last character that I played before before we stopped playing the game. But he wasn't meant to be a bard at first. I didn't really want to play a bard, but his story just fit really well with the bard because his grandpa ended up teaching him like all of this, like, how to be a bard, essentially. Taught him storytelling and stuff like that. So it kind of just ended up happening that way. And I was like, well, I guess I'm a bard now. So that's kind of how I make characters, is really, really story driven and story based. And I always think of like my story first and how that, impacts my life. Because even my characters, my last character in your campaign that I played, Saito, I think is his name.
He's a crocodon, which is a crocodile person that I
right. He was like all story based, but I loved the idea of like, their culture and civilization in your world, and and so I ended up making a rogue, through story, and then I was like, it'd be really cool if he just like bit people instead of with his mouth. He had like a bite attack, so like he didn't use any weapons and stuff because he has natural weapons. So just thought it was interesting, and that's kind of how I build characters.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not for everybody. I know a lot of people just like to pick their race and class and go from there, Like, okay,
I mean, I definitely think sometimes I try to create a story and it's just nothing's coming to me. And
Totally.
so sometimes if I force myself to pick a class or pick a race or do anything like that, it can get the rest of it kind of moving.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason so I was about to say there's another method that I know you like to use in particular, especially as a DM, is like going onto a place like Pinterest or like, any place like that and looking at art and then picking a character based off of like pictures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I have with that, at least for starting a new D&D campaign, is that like oftentimes those pictures are like really epic and really cool. And like you start at level 1,
Yeah.
like you have like 6 HP and, are terrible. So, like that really epic, cool samurai guy that you want is not really that epic. And sometimes people can get, discouraged because like they thought of this cool epic character in their mind,
Mm-hmm.
and then they play level 1 D&D and it's like I die to a goblin in one hit.
Yeah, I think it's a very important thing to understand that, like, where you're going, like, yes, you will get there. And I think planning for that and, like, planning for what you want to do is definitely an important and helpful thing. But I think, like you were saying, being aware of where you're at, of you're not going to start as that cool samurai guy. Like, when somebody creates a backstory and it's like, oh, my character saved 30 towns and overthrew a government and did all this stuff. And you're like, you're level 1, my friend.
Yeah.
I love the idea, and I like that you want that, but I don't know if you could do that.
Right. I mean, unless it was some, like you could think of ways for sure how
Oh,
like
yeah,
you'd
definitely.
save the town, or anything like that. But yeah, it's just sometimes it's hard to like be put in the reality of level 1 D&D when you're restarting a campaign. And that's why a lot of people start at level like 5, like you just feel like there's more
Like a hero, yeah.
epicness to your character than, level 1. Because level 1 you just feel like a commoner, just barely better than a commoner. But which I like that feeling. But some of my favorite D&D is actually level 1 D&D because I just love the like it's so volatile. Like it's so easy to die in level 1 D&D. It's so risky.
Very much so, yeah. Well, I think the time has passed. Time to get into the topic.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, what is our actual topic this week?
So we are going to talk about a race from Dungeons and Dragons, the Forgotten Realms. This
my gosh.
race, yeah.
We're talking about dwarves.
I think we've already talked about dwarves.
Okay, we're talking about actually you might have told me, but I can't remember.
I did not tell you.
You didn't tell me? Okay,
Did
we're
not.
talking about Dragonborn.
Dragonborn, no. We're talking about the Shalarin.
No idea who the heck that is or what that is.
I didn't think you would know
If
who
I had
they
to
were.
guess based on the name, the Shalarin, it sounds like elves.
No. But I see your idea. You're wrong, but I see your
humans.
This week, we're going to talk about a race from the Forgotten Realms called the Shalarin. This will continue our origin for Season 4.
Our origin series.
Yes, the Shalarin are an aquatic race from
Not
second
sponsored.
and third edition. This race is one of the things that makes me sad about 5th edition. There are so many interesting and incredibly fleshed out lore in the Forgotten Realms that just gets left to the wayside, that hasn't come into 5th edition yet. The Shalarin are a humanoid or aquatic race with slippery, slimy, hairless flesh like that of a dolphin. The shape of their humanoid forms is thin and lithe, like that of an elf, but they differ with their hands and feet, which have elongated fingers and toes that are connected by webbing.
Ah, I see, the ancestors of Tritons.
No,
Dang it.
no, they exist alongside Tritons.
Oh, interesting.
They have a dorsal fin that runs from the bridge of their nose up over their skull and down their spine, going to about the tailbone.
Interesting.
The appearance and color of this dorsal fin and the egg that they are born in determine the caste and ranking of an individual.
Boy, that would suck.
If a Shalarin learns magic, it also causes this fin and webbing to glow.
Okay, that's really cool though. That's
Yeah.
super awesome. I
So you
love
just
that.
know which ones are spellcasters and which ones aren't because their fins are glowing.
That's really cool, but also super disadvantageous if you're trying to sneak around in dark places.
Oh, very much so. Now, most Shalarins have a silvery coloration to them.
Actually, before you continue,
Yes.
I never thought about this, but if you were a Shalarin, okay, and you wanted to wear gloves, how does that work? You have to have like special web gloves?
Have you seen mittens?
True. I guess you have to wear mittens. It's canon. All Shalarins in this world, they wear mittens.
It's the only thing you can wear. But no, actually, they're all nude.
Oh gosh,
because it would slow you down in the water. They literally they're nude. Literally
wow,
in
Josh,
this
this is supposed to be a PG-13 podcast, but
in this next paragraph that we're going to get into, I literally say, being aquatic, Shalarins didn't tend to wear any clothing, only sticking with belts to hold any sort of weapon or tool that they might need.
that's not where my mind went. But okay, guess they've got tool belts, which is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, you got to have your axe somewhere.
It's true. I guess that's true. I mean, you can't just swim around with it all the time.
Yeah,
holding it. I mean, unless you like had a strap on it or something and you put it around your
that's
back.
what the belt is. It's literally just to strap the thing to you. It doesn't even have to be like it's not like a tool belt like you think, or even like sometimes it's literally just kelp,
which is pretty cool.
or eel skin, or like other animals like that they
should like have an eel that they use, and the eel gives you your weapon. That reminds me of that snake belt. That is a magic weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a real weapon, or is that just like something?
I think that was a Matthew Mercer thing that then got moved into
actual
because of, I think it's in his book.
Yeah, it's a super cool concept. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I know it's a thing in fantasy before this for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
The belt that literally turns into a snake. Yeah, that's totally been a thing. But I don't know if it was in D&D yet. But as I was saying, most Shalarins have a silvery coloration to them, but that's not all they can be. The easiest way to describe what colors they can be would be to tell you that whatever color you've seen a fish be, that's what a Shalarin can look like.
That's a lot of colors.
Yes.
There's a lot
so you
of
could have
colorful fish.
Yeah. So you could have a koi-colored Shalarin.
That's really cool. Why aren't they in D&D anymore? That's kind of sad.
Well, I know they're still there. There just hasn't been anything in 5th edition to kind of like they haven't been featured in one shot or like in campaign settings or anything.
Huh. Yeah, that's a really cool. These are really cool. I like these guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think also it would be hard for them to be a playable race because I don't think they can go on land.
That would be a problem. That would definitely be an issue. For sure. Unless
they're not
were
like
a
Tritons.
fishbowl around their head.
They're very they're very unique as a humanoid race in that way that they are not really they're one of the few aquatic humanoid races that are not capable of or pretty much not capable of going on land.
Yeah, that would definitely complicate things for sure.
Now, you know how I said Shalarins are mostly nude?
Yep, I remember.
Rude, lewd, and nude.
That was just too much. That was just too much.
Now this is
there was a line and you crossed it. There was a line and you crossed it.
I said, "Oh, you see this line here?" And then I walked right over it. Now, this would only be broken, this idea of only being nude, by nobles as a sign of status, because they don't have any need for speed in the water. Because they're rich.
No need for speed, baby. Need for speed underwater too.
Now, Shalarins reside in many different parts of the sea, and their bodies are made to handle it. They could even handle the pressure at the deepest parts of the ocean. Now, they can't handle it forever, but they are surprisingly resilient against it for a long time. The majority of their settlements reside between 600 feet and 1,200 feet.
But pretty deep.
Yeah.
Pretty deep.
But they could go far, far deeper. They were actually a rare breed in the ocean, with only a few others able to handle the deep as well as them. The only ones outright able to go deeper are, or not even go deeper, but keep up with them, are Tritons, Krakens, and some whales.
Oh, dang. How deep can whales go in real life?
I'm not sure. On top of their ability to handle the depths, they're also incredible swimmers. With their webbed digits and dorsal fins, They have incredible speed and maneuverability in the water.
The highest recorded dive of a whale that we know of is 866 feet.
That's it?
Yep. And meanwhile, the deepest part in the ocean is 36,000 feet.
Yeah.
That's a lot of water.
So you know how the farthest that it was like safely a Shalarin can go is 2,400 feet.
Woo,
like that's
super deep.
Yeah, it was super deep. Before they start having like deeper than that, they can keep going, but it's like harder.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's a lot of water above you. That's a lot of pressure pushing
It
down
is.
on you.
Now, the Shalarins are different from other aquatic humanoids, as I kind of explained already earlier, how they can't really go on land. But other aquatic humanoids seem to have similarities to humanoids that live on the land, such as their eyes, sometimes even their flesh. But Shalarins already have a lot of differences, such as their dolphin-like skin, as I said. But they also have different eyes.
They're kind of creepy.
Are you looking them up right now?
No, but they just seem kind of creepy.
If anybody at home has the ability to, I would look up Shalarin. It's just Rin. Sorry, not. But Shalarin, they look super alien and super like you imagine. Like if you've seen images of like creepy creatures under the ocean, it's like, have you seen the creepy monster that they just found under the ocean? That's what these look like.
They are really creepy looking. They are really, really creepy looking.
It's because it's so different from us as humanoids, like with their elongated toes and fingers. It all just has this otherworldly feel to them.
Yeah, they definitely look like underwater aliens. That's pretty.
Yeah,
they look like underwater aliens, and they're creepy.
yeah, but so including their skin, they also have dark black eyes, so like solid color black eyes.
Right, which for us, it's always like really off-putting when you see something like that.
Sure. Or sometimes a dark blue or dark purple. These eyes have other benefits, like fish. They had a protective membrane upon them. But they also have the ability to see bioluminescence of objects and creatures within 180 feet. The best way that this was described in the article that I read was, it's like dark vision, except it wouldn't be impeded by water.
Interesting. Weird.
So when you get
weird.
really deep down in the water and the sun is like the light is not reaching you, they can see in a way that would be impeded by a regular dark vision.
Boy, that certainly doesn't make any sense, but I love it.
What do you mean?
I can't. No, I'm just saying I can't figure out how the heck that works scientifically.
No, that's how actual fish see down
No,
there.
I know, and I'm like, I have no idea how that works.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that works. They must have like extra sensitive receptors or something. And
That's
they
what I
can
think
pick
it
up
is.
any
It's something
kind
like
of-
that also are not like, they don't get hurt, or they're not like how fish can keep their eyes open in the water. Like they have this protective membrane that allows them to keep like
Right.
in a way that we don't feel the most comfortable keeping our eyes open in water.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's got to be some sort of like extra sensitive to light or like maybe certain colors. I don't know. I have no idea.
The Shalarins were a heavily caste-based system that, as I said earlier, are decided by their caste markings, both on their dorsal fin and on their egg. They quickly and easily understand interactions between other species and members of their species, knowing who to follow and who to lead. This came to a head when they began to interact with outsiders. Their instincts were telling them to categorize the other person by their status and treat them accordingly, but the signs of upper and lower class in other societies weren't obvious to them. They respected their caste system, even going so far as to restrict what actions that they could do based on their status. And the concept of doing something outside of their station was almost unthinkable to them.
Man, that's pretty rough. That's pretty
They'd
rough.
heavily specialize and wouldn't do anything else.
I wonder if they're like born with a sense. I mean, not like a natural sense, but like somebody who's born in like a lower portion of the society, like, a kelp farmer or whatever. I wonder like if they have like a sense of duty, or I mean, it would probably vary by individual, but it'd just be interesting. I wonder.
I think culturally it'd be put in them. I don't know if it would be like biological.
Right. No, for sure. I just wonder if like people are content in the caste that they've been assigned from their birth.
Yeah, so I think the majority are like the article made it sound like everybody is, but that's if it's a sentient race, that's not always going to be the case. There's going to be outliers.
Right.
Now, just an interesting fact I'll throw in here. Caste
Tacos
is not...
are the second best food.
Well, caste
only to
is not
pizza.
determined by your parents. It's by your markings. So you could be the lowest class, have a child that is in the highest class.
Oh, interesting. That's pretty cool.
It is, but your child gets taken away from you at that point.
Which isn't cool, but that would also make for a really fun D&D character and story.
But so what they do in that situation is that they look at the egg and they bring it to a kind of a large egg area, like a hatchery type area, because they're egg laying people, as I did.
An incubator.
And in this hatchery, they put all the eggs with with other eggs of their caste, and then it is decided who will raise them, because somebody who raises them has to be their caste.
Boy, that is weird and interesting.
It is. Now, they also don't have any restrictions on who you can marry or have kids with. So there's a lot of couples that are not the same caste as each other.
Huh, how does that work?
So if one of you is the caste of your child, you can petition to raise it like you normally would.
You have to petition. You have to petition.
Well, it's pretty much a guaranteed. It's more of a following the rules type of petition. Like you're gonna get it. It's your child, but it's like still a petition.
Yes, I would like to petition to be able to raise my own child, please.
Yeah, but I think that's just one of the things that's just like, I don't know if it's that weird. I think it just feels weird because we culturally don't do anything kind of like that at all.
I mean, it's also weird. Like, we would think it's weird also to have like a kid and then like the whole society raises it, you know, like it's everybody's, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to quickly run through some history of the Shalarin.
Speed run, go.
The Shalarin.
Oh, you already botched it. We got to reset. Go again.
The Shalarin originally resided in a sea called Coronactus. At first, it was believed that this might have been on a different planet, but that was not to be the case, as it was literally just on the opposite side of the planet, so no one knew about it in Faerun. This sea was wanted by the demon lord Dagon. Not only did he want control of the area, he wanted to consume the power of the gods worshipped there.
Wow,
he began his plan by cutting off the communication the Shalarin have with their gods. Then he decided to forcefully open a gate called the Wild Tide Gate. That would suck any creature nearby, sending them far away to another underwater realm called Seros. When this portal suddenly appeared, many Shalarin were sucked in and unexpectedly brought into a fight with merfolk and aquatic elves. These merfolk and aquatic elves were cultists that worshipped Dagon. This was his plan to wipe out all opposition to him. These cultists were nearly successful too, wiping out 70 to 75% of the Shalarins. But the residents that resided in Seros banded together and fought back, protecting the Shalarins and driving back the armies of Dagon. Dagon would continually open this portal every 720 years to root out more Shalarins that were in his way. Now, the Shalarins had a weird response to this. They had a myth, a prophecy, and since they didn't know about Dagon's plans, they believed that this event was the beginning of the end times. They had a prophecy that said that they would be brought to a new world 5 times, each time focusing on a different caste. When the 5th time arrives, it brings with them judges, and who would determine if they were worthy. If they were deemed to be worthy, they would all be united again. So after this teleport and massive massacre, the survivors eagerly awaited the completion of the prophecy. It's a pretty weird response.
Yeah, that's, it's really, really weird.
Now, there's a lot of details about the caste system and how it all works, but I don't think we have time for it. So I think this week we should create either aquatic, like some sort of, I don't know if it's like beach people, like people who live near the ocean, or if we do forest.
So do a quick recap of, for those who, like don't remember anything, what we talked about last week.
So last week we started season 4.
Mm-hmm.
Each season we go and we create a world. And so this season, I'm going to try to be a little bit focused. We're going to try to focus it more. So what I mean by that is we're going to start with creating the origin of the majority of races. This is where they've started, and this is where they developed. Then we'll create stuff that happens that causes each group to disseminate. As they kind of spread out and mingle with other races, eventually it becomes the nations that are in the current world of the campaign where we would have whatever story take place.
Okay, got it.
What we created last week was, first off, people were created by the same energy that created the planet. It was just this kind of riling creation energy. And so it created all these races all over the place. These races eventually began to, in the same way that we as humans decided to create religions, they did as well, and they began to believe like, oh, there was a god of the harvest and god of the sun or whatever. And as more and more people believed in these different gods, they literally believed them into existence.
Cool. Sweet.
We have created so far the people who live in the desert. Desert people are the elves, lizard folk, kobolds, and some other reptilians, possibly dragonborn or half dragons. We kind of loosely talked about that. So this week We're going to create the people from another group.
Got it. Like another area.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and you were thinking either like coastal people or like forest?
Yeah. Now,
what would you
I
prefer?
will say we were given a restriction yesterday by one of our friends.
Oh, yeah, true.
And I like this. And honestly, if you guys want to write into dungeoneer@hotmail.com and give us restrictions like, hey, I want you to not do this for next week's episode, I think that would be incredibly fun. Or you just tweet at us.
Fun. Yeah.
His restriction was the people you create, they didn't make swords.
They just don't
have them. And my mind quickly went to the Maori people, which I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. That's the indigenous people of New Zealand. They didn't develop piercing weapons like that. They mostly focused on bludgeoning weapons. And so they have this really cool catalog of all these awesome weapons that they have. That's where they invested their time and money into making these.
Well, like with this restriction, now it kind of makes me want to do like forests. And what they do is they like grow trees and stuff. And like whatever one forms into a weapon, like a person like grows up and receives it as a weapon. Like they're like when they're born, they're planted like a weapon, and as it grows, that's what they get when they come to age. And so they all carry these like weird different sticks of different, like different makes and different kinds that are like magically hardened or whatever through the growth process. Like there's grove tenders.
So Jonah had another idea that they knew how to create petrified wood, which is wood that is kind of taken on the attributes of being stone.
Right.
So it's harder, and so I think that would be a very interesting thing that once it gets to a certain like weapon size, they petrify it until the person is an adult and can take it and use it.
Which I think would be interesting as well. I think that'd be a fun concept. But I love like I was saying earlier, I like the concept of like they have like grove tenders who like tend these like certain type of trees or bushes that grow, and they like use them as weapons. I think it'd be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the idea of like grove tenders? Do you like that idea where they like grow these weapons? And then I do like the idea of have like some sort of magical energy that like petrifies them or like turns them into a different material would be really cool also.
Yeah, transmute them.
Yeah, like they transmute them with like some sort of magical ritual, and then they receive that when they like grow, when they become of age or whatever, like, fighting age, or if they're chosen to be a fighter or whatever. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
But I think first, too, before we even continue that, we do have to decide what race it actually is.
So we're doing forest?
Yeah, let's do forest.
So I heard something interesting. I've heard this before, and I thought it was funny before, but then I thought I could use this. Somebody made the classic comment of, if dwarves live underground, why do they have axes? You've heard this?
No, but yes.
And then somebody says, in response, elves live in the forest.
Okay, yeah, true. True.
And you're like, oh, interesting. But I kind of wanted to take it as these dwarves are actually in the forest and use axes for wood cutting. Like they're actual forest dwarves.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, I obviously just have to get over my stereotype of dwarves living in a mountain because I think that's just,
Yeah,
awesome.
you're too busy with diggy diggy hole running it through your brain.
It's absolutely true. So that's like really hard for me to like get over.
Yeah.
Not that I don't see dwarves like, living in a different society or different area, but for some reason I just have extra hard time seeing a dwarf like living in the forest. I don't know why.
I'm seeing dwarves as Ewoks,
Well,
and it's very cute.
that was where my mind originally went. Like if I had to see them anyway, I was seeing them as like Ewoks, but I don't really. I mean, do we like that?
I don't hate it. I definitely think you could do interesting things with them being like dwarves that we recognize from like classic other fantasy, but just doing everything in a kind of wooden way.
Like instead of stone craftsmen, they are like wood craftsmen, and they like craft these beautiful, intricate forest civilizations.
Yeah.
Would they like carve? Would they live in like natural trees and like carve them, like carve staircases up them and stuff, and live
I
up in
think
the
it's
canopy?
no, I think they still live on the ground.
They live underneath the trees and carve through the roots. And
Yeah.
make cool, intricate
The
things
roots
underneath.
become their roofs.
Hmm. Interesting. I just, I mean, obviously we can make numerous civilizations in a forest, but I love the obvious, like, living in the canopy thing. But, I think we should, make multiple over time because,
I mean,
we're
if you
already
want
running.
them to live in the trees, that's fine. That's a cool thing to do.
I don't know. Can I see a dwarf like, Tarzaning, like, like, I mean, yes, the answer is yes.
Now I want them to only move through.
Like Tarzan dwarves.
Yeah. No,
They're Scottish too,
I think they tried that, and they're just all too heavy for the vines.
I mean, I really like the idea. So,
But
like,
no,
I
but
think we should
hold on.
save.
So what they do instead is they all have whips that they use to move swiftly across the canopy.
See, I think okay. So I love this. I like the idea of like moving through a canopy with whips, but I think we should save the upper canopy tree dwelling race for something else and not dwarves because I do like the idea of keeping the dwarves somewhat like underground, and they like use the root system of trees and like carve them into beautiful like delicate structures, and they like live underneath these trees,
We can have
which I
both
think would be really
societies
cool.
living in the forest.
Right, totally. Yeah.
I would say we have dwarves that live like deep under the forest, and they are the ones who have engaged with the roots that live down there. Maybe they're even like partially druidic as they even like talk to the trees, but they talk to it from down below its roots.
Yeah, which I like a lot, which I think is really,
And
really
then
cool.
above in the canopy, there are gnomes.
Gnomes.
And the gnomes are the ones who do the swinging through the trees with their whips.
Which I love. So here's my next question then. Are these trees like, are we talking like big trees? Or are we talking like normal, like pine forest? Like, what are we talking here?
Redwoods.
Like, that's what I was thinking. Like big,
giant, thick trees
Thick.
that have been growing for, with
double
two C's.
C's. Double, yeah.
2 C's, exactly. I like how we both were on the same page on that one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the important stuff that we have to discuss.
You're
Are
like,
these 1C
what are
trees
these,
or 2C
are these
trees?
1C or 2C trees?
So stupid.
You could say the trees got back.
True. You could.
These trees got bark, my friend.
They do have bark.
They got bark.
So what I'm thinking though, what I think would be really interesting is if like the gnomes like lived almost like inside these trees, like up in the canopies, like they would carve out little homes for themselves inside these trees. I think it'd be really cool. Like a I don't know, like a little like squirrel mite or like a like a that type of thing. I think it'd be really, really fun. And they have like cool little like homes carved into the trees. Because gnomes are pretty small, so they could easily do stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, I have just recently been playing a game called Divinity Original Sin 2.
Nice.
And I haven't looked much into this as a topic or as an idea yet, but there was talk of a ancient elf that became a what's called an ancestor tree. I don't know exactly what that means. But what it sounds like is when this elf died, it was of so much importance that it somehow came back as a tree. Like some sort of magic ritual happened, and it became this kind of living tree, this kind of person that continued life as this tree.
Interesting.
In this game, they were taken and used to turn into a boat, which is not something that the original people who created ancestor trees would want, but it became a sentient boat that could be controlled with a slave, an enslavement spell, pretty much.
That's very interesting.
It is very interesting, and I really like
it.
And now I'm thinking,
an idea.
Do either the gnomes or the dwarves do this?
Well, okay. It gave me an idea. So these trees in these forests are like really big redwoods, right? And they're massive. What if the dwarves... So we're going through this whole concept of like the people believe this and the gods manifested from it. So what if the dwarves who live in the roots believe that each person who dies, their ancestral spirit like goes up into the roots and helps the tree flourish and grow? And that like is in essence their god. Like their ancestors are their god, and they like grow the forest, which, you know, is somewhat tropey, but I think it'd be really interesting because they live down in the roots, and like even I like the idea of these are the guys who grow their weapons, and they take the roots and they grow and manipulate the roots and then use them as weapons.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. But every time someone dies in their society, they believe that their spirits reside within the roots of the tree.
And I think
continue on their life through the tree
using
living.
the body as a fertilizer. That is what causes it to become its soul to be taken to the heaven and protected in the trees.
Well, right. And what I was thinking is like, you know, they believe that like when their ancestors died, like they see them living, continuing on through the growth and life of a tree.
Question.
Which is, yes.
Because they have such importance for the trees, are the gnomes enemies or seen as defiling the trees?
So there's two ways that I was seeing this. One, I was seeing this as yes, you know, like they don't like the gnomes because the gnomes are like carving into the trees and, you know, living up in the canopies and, you know, possibly harming the trees. But there was also a part of me that wanted to be like some sort of symbiotic relationship where like the gnomes like somehow something that they do up in the canopy.
I think they
like,
prune it.
Right.
Which is a thing where you trim the tree in such a way to kind of help it grow.
Right. And so they're actually like accepting of each other's existence within the trees. And they both promote the growth of a tree, of the forest.
Yeah.
These two like work together in harmony to defend and like, you know, keep the forest.
Yeah. I like that. I think symbiosis is what we're going to go with.
Yeah, I think I like that more. So then the question is, you know, we created like 3 different things for the desert people. What's the bad thing in the forest? Do we have a bad thing in the forest? Do we not want a bad thing in the forest?
Drow.
Drow? I love that idea so much.
But specifically Drow because of the giant spiders and driders.
And I love that so much as well. I think that's an excellent idea.
And I think they attack. When they attack, there's like this fog that begins to roll in, and it kind of like predates their arrival, their attack. Like everybody knows when the fog rolls in, run.
That means there's a drow attack on the horizon.
And not even like on the horizon. Like they're literally behind that tree to your left.
Right,
like,
yeah, like they're attacking.
The sign of they're attacking.
Do you think the drow like live in the forest, or do they live somewhere else?
I think they live in the forest. I think they are ones to not care about it, and they will cut it down and use it for whatever they need.
So I kind of want to take this a tiny bit different direction.
Okay.
I think as opposed to like the gnomes and the dwarves who like manage and care for the forest, the the drow just have this like wild, untamed, like untraversable section of the forest where they can like traverse through like their spider forms and, you know, like these different methods of movement, and like it's kind of like an opposite. I'm not saying the drow.
No, I like that a lot. How theirs is unkept.
Yeah, like it's more of like a haunted, like scary, overgrown vibe than like, you know, like a peaceful, groomed and flourishing forest.
Is it marshy or swampy in any way, or is it?
I'm not sure. What do you see? Do you see it swampy? I mean, I can see it both ways.
I can see it both ways. That's why I asked.
Hmm. I don't know. And my another question is, do they ride spiders? Like, are they like riding on spiders too? Like, do they
Giant
have like
spiders,
spider
yeah.
hatcheries that they hatch and
Oh,
stuff?
for
That would
sure.
be super cool. So,
So they also come from above as well. So they like you the gnomes aren't safe in the canopy.
okay, so here's an idea. What if we go and do something like what happens in real life, where there's a major landmark that splits the forest up into sections, and the Drow have one section, and the dwarves and gnomes have another section, and maybe like a Louisiana like river, right, that runs through the center of this forest, or like a portion of this forest, and it like essentially cuts them off, and it's formed like a natural border.
Okay,
So
my
like,
question about that do they have a truce with each other for now?
I don't think
Is it
so. No, I don't think it's like all out war though. You know, like I don't think they're like constantly killing each other or whatever.
yeah.
But
It's just little skirmishes along the river.
yeah, and I think it's like maybe mounting into something. Perhaps.
Yeah, I think the river. So okay, what I would do for mounting into something, I would have the river be feeding. Like the river is pure enough water or usable water that both groups use it for sustenance, for water.
Yeah, absolutely,
And
for sure.
what is happening is it is a glacial runoff from like high up in the mountains nearby. It is beginning to shrink, and that will be eventually causing a big problem between the groups.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down with something like that for sure. Or even, like a second group like damming it and blocking it and limiting the flow.
Those stupid humans.
I know, right? The mountain humans. No, but I love that. I think that's totally acceptable. But I had an idea when we were mentioning this river. I think it's so cool if like the dwarves made like underground aqueducts that filtered some of this river water to the trees, like each individual tree, and like gave them their own like arcane water source that they treated and used for growth. I think that'd be really cool.
I definitely see the that being used in that way for sure.
So okay, we have dwarves, gnomes, and drow. Okay, and do we see? I know there's a conflict mounting, but do drow have like raiding parties still? Like, do they go and capture people? Like, what's their civilization based off of? Like, what do they do? Like, do they just live in the forest and use its?
I think it's same as
bounty?
Underdark Drow. They have a lot of slaves.
Okay, which I love. I love that. I just like that concept. I don't like the concept of slaves. I said that last time.
Yeah, you love your
I love
of
slaves. Gosh, jeez.
Gross, Aaron.
Don't clip that. Don't clip it.
We're done. We're done with this. I'm out.
But I just because it's such like an evil thing, it's just like a interesting concept to play around with in a fantasy world. But you have to be careful too when you do it. But yes.
I mean, it's a problem that still exists.
Oh, for sure.
It's a terrible problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so exploring it in a game, yes, it sucks. Yes, it sucks that it exists, but I think it's one of those things that it feels really good to solve in the game.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite ones to
because
solve as a player.
there's such a clear evil bad side. It's not like the moral ambiguity is mostly gone.
Right, which there are ways I could probably think about.
Oh no, there is, but I don't. I think there is like it's one of those things that seems like it almost transcends that.
Yep.
To the point of I don't care if you have your reasons for it.
Yep.
You don't do that to another
own
person.
Somebody has property, you're right.
And so that kind of moral ambiguity is less, and I think there's something really nice about just having a clear villain.
Absolutely. And okay, so with these drow then, do they like capture gnomes and dwarves and use them in their techniques to grow their forest, but they don't keep it, like they don't like, because they're using these techniques?
I don't think they use it to grow their forest. I don't think they care about their forest.
Got it. Okay.
I think they use it in experiments on their transformation experiments, like their driders, and on religious sacrifices and such.
Okay, so
I would like to bring two things from actual drow lore. I want to bring Lolth, who she is literally, her whole thing is making the drow continue on this path, being evil for her. And I want to bring in her daughter as well. Her daughter is a goddess that is weaker than Lolth, but her whole thing is, I don't want the drow to stay this way. She's like, the drow don't have to be evil. And
Got
so I think that still I don't know if it'll still be Lolth and her daughter.
Do we?
But
Okay,
there's
wait. Here's
some
an
sort
idea.
of pantheon that'll be there that one will be like, we don't need to do this anymore. Maybe it's even like an elven goddess from like for the elves that says like, hey, you're elves. I want you to be good. Like I will treat you good too.
Here's an idea. Do we want to forgo like this war that might be happening between the Drow and Dwarves and Gnomes, and instead do like a Drow civil war between like the people who are evil and this like uprising of
I would
Drow
like to
that
do
are trying to
both.
be good, or both?
I don't want to pull it away.
I'm down with both for sure.
Because what I want to do is I want it to be this lack of resources becomes the tipping point for both. So well, I think the lack of resources is the tipping point for the war with the gnomes and the dwarves.
And then the good Drow,
The gnomes with the war and the dwarves is the tipping point for the good Drow saying we don't want to do this anymore.
Yep, and they rebel as well, and they fight with the dwarves and gnomes.
Yes, and it's kind of this tenuous thing because they don't know, because I think they've had crafty Drow try to lie to them before. So it's still, even though they're like trying to help, it's still like this tenuous, hard won ally. Like,
Yeah,
we want,
totally.
like, they don't accept them as really honestly wanting to help.
Absolutely. I think that's super cool. I think that's awesome.
Okay, gnomes and dwarves, do they have the same pantheons? Like, do they believe in the same, like, wood or forest gods?
Okay, yeah. I want to say yes and no, because I really want the dwarves to be more like ancestor based. Like they don't really believe, they don't really like have the concept of gods, but instead like their ancestors are their god. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And I think the gnomes respect and acknowledge that, but like have their own little like, tree pantheon or whatever, like the great squirrel or something. Like
I'm just going to ignore that really terrible idea you had.
I know, it was a joke.
Sure it was, Aaron. Sure it was.
Listen, I love squirrels,
just-
and there's
no.
a squirrel outside my window right now, but that's why I got it, because there's literally a squirrel on the tree outside my window.
See, if we're just going to look around and say, oh man, it's the great, I would
Morgan.
say, it's the great Coca-Cola can. They
Yes.
worship the great Coca-Cola can.
Not sponsored.
Or are we?
Ooh, who
No, we're
knows?
I wish. Coca-Cola, hit me up.
Give us that sweet Coca-Cola money.
Sweet Coca-Cola money.
Oh, man. The only thing sweeter than Coca-Cola itself is Coca-Cola money. Anyways. No, I don't know, but I think the gnomes have probably their own little pantheon, but they, like, understand
Now, hold on. Something about the way you said that I love.
a little pantheon.
Their own little pantheon.
Yeah.
They're really tiny gods.
Yeah, I know, it'd be awesome.
Do they worship like fairies? Like
That's
they're
right.
like
Well,
really tiny.
That's what I was going with like the great squirrel. Like it was a joke, but like I was thinking more along the lines of like these like forest spirits that they worship, and they're like tiny little forest spirits. And
I
that'd
think
be
they
really
ride
interesting.
on. I think
Well,
think one of
call
them
me a
definitely rides
video game
squirrel.
lover. Yeah, call me. Well, for sure, call me a video game lover. But I was thinking kind of along the lines of Stardew Valley, those little.
See, don't anything you're gonna say here is gonna be spoilers for me. So I would say don't say it.
Oh, but it's not really a spoiler.
I think it's big enough that I would not want you to spoil it for me.
But they're just little spirits.
Because
yeah,
I've gone to the community center and seen them, but I haven't gone far enough to understand what they are.
Oh well, that's pretty much all you need, really. You pretty much already understand.
I was hoping there was so much more behind it.
I mean, there is for sure, but it's not
it's
like.
off topic.
Yes, it is. It is for sure. But I was thinking like little forest spirits, and I think they could manifest in different forms, and I think it'd be really interesting and really cool that they, what forms would they manifest in? Or is this
Have
like?
you said Princess Mononoke?
I love Princess Mononoke for sure.
Forest spirits from that.
Yeah, heck yeah, absolutely. I love like the Great Boar. Oh man.
But also like the little ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, totally.
The ones that just like are like kind of trickstery and just kind of play around.
Now, do we go along the lines of like an animistic gods, like the little forest spirits, like they're like, for example, the great squirrel, like a little squirrel spirit, like a little, like bird spirit, like a great.
No,
boar spirit.
I think from what we're developing, we're not making animals as anything important. We're making the forest itself, the trees, leaves, plants. We're making those the important things. So I think that would be the important things in the pantheon as well.
So like a little leaf spirit that floats in the wind.
Yeah, and like an actual great tree.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm down with that too.
Now, do you think these things manifest on our plane, or do they have their own celestial plane?
You know what? I want to do something a little bit different, and I want like the gods to manifest on this plane, but like in their own unique area. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I think it'd be really a really interesting concept instead of like having them be off on their plane controlling things, like they're here, but like maybe because they're formed from belief, they're very nebulous and they're not like, like we don't like, see Zeus riding around on a cloud, like. You know what I'm saying? But like they still exist and their power remains.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think gods are?
Are you seeing it like a Mount Olympus thing?
Yeah, but that's like really its own plane, I guess. But that's kind of what I was thinking. But I don't know.
But in like the lore of Greek mythology, like it's a physical mountain that you could actually climb, and at the top of it is the gods.
Right, and so that's kind of what I was thinking, kind of something along those lines. But if every civilization has like thought up their own gods, then you would think they would like be manifested in their own civilization.
What I'm thinking
like,
for this campaign, and also this is a thing that you can do to limit gods in your own worlds. I think each one, quotation marks, comes up with their own, but once one is made, once a god of a certain like the god of the forest, they will then go and respond to anyone looking for a god of the forest. So one group is actually responsible for making it, but then that one uses its power to reach out to others. And so there is only one pantheon across the whole world, because as soon as they came into being, they reached out to people looking for a god of the forest.
Yeah, and I would definitely picture that as, something that happened for sure. Like, but I don't know.
They might be worshipped different.
Right.
But it's the same god. Maybe even called something different, but it's the same god.
Yeah, interesting. And I see that happening. I think I want to, before we even like do that though, is I want to like, make, again, I kind of want this season to be extra fleshed out. Like we have like, we actually make like a world like you were talking about. Like we really dive in and make a fully fleshed out world.
Like I think we're gonna have like one or two more prehistoric episodes.
Right. And I think I want to like, make more civilizations and stuff first before I decide, can I make enough gods for each civilization, have them be like their own unique entities that, reside within these nations.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how we want to go about that just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it'd be interesting, like, like the humans dream up a god who like looks, or like, it doesn't have to be human, but one of the races dreams up a god that looks like them, and he like leads their nation, like their god is their emperor, and so like their emperor leads their nation and is a god, like he becomes a god because he leads their nation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, I definitely think there could be a god king situation for sure.
Right, and I think that this kind of world really manifests that, because as long as you have the belief,
enough belief, yeah, exactly,
then you can literally become a god emperor.
And I think there also is times where mighty heroes become gods.
Exactly. Right. So I think there's so much creative room to like just go buck wild with the god system that like I kind of want to reserve how we want them to be interacting until we kind of get a better established idea of all these different civilizations and what gods they've created,
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough for episode 67 of Dungeoneered.
Yeah. Only 2 more episodes away from the best episode.
That's true. Oh, God.
That title is just going to be nice.
Episode 69. Nice.
Nice. Gosh dang it. I hate my childlike mind.
I was going to try to find something funny or weird to do for that for sure.
Well, yeah, and it just reminds me of when I said doo-doo on set yesterday and everybody just like lost it.
Well, it was Chris.
I know.
We both were like, we were like, okay, we heard it. No need.
I said it too. When I said it, I was like, I said it. And I was like, we're just going to go on.
Yeah, we're just going to go on. There's no reason. And I look over to Chris and he is smirking and like, he is so close to breaking. And I'm like, dang it, Chris.
I know.
Because I was holding it in too.
I was
when
doing
you
the same because I literally said it and I was like, I just said doo doo.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. Anyways, outro time, rambling outro.
Thank you for listening to episode 67 of Dungeoneered. If you listen to us on any podcasting apps or websites that have ratings and reviews, please rate and review the show. It really helps kind of bring attention to the show and shows that our audience is engaging in more ways than one. Yeah, just thank you for being here. Like I love what we're doing right now.
It's been a really fun ride, not gonna lie.
I'm having a lot of fun and it's good. Yeah, I just really enjoy this. If you want to write to us, let us know what you think about the show, or you have suggestions for topics or lukewarm opens, please write to us at dungeoneered@hotmail.com. Anything to add, Aaron?
No, but I do have to add, because I say it a lot of times. Seriously, though, if you want to send me any cool, delicious recipes, do it. Like, actually. I know it's a joke, but actually.
Oh, yeah. I'm always up for cool new recipes.
Heck yeah. Nope, but that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you all for listening. And as I always say, always remember to be the sharpest barrel in the bunch. See you next time.
Oh, man, the suspense is killing me. I just couldn't take it anymore.
I tried to hold out long enough that you would mess up.
I was like, am I saying bye? Am I not saying bye? And now I'm just rambling.
And now we end there.
Bye.